Greetings, YouTubers. How's it going out there in YouTube land? Just another day / night in paradise, right? That's what I thought. Well, beautiful day out here, and we are going to be doing a little bit of work on the Trailblazer. Not so much work, but I'm going to give you a little tutorial on how to use a pretty new tool that I got. Pretty cool. Now, some of my videos about 6 or 8 months ago, you saw where I did my own alignment by putting the strings around the vehicle with a couple of jacks and making measurements. And this is where you pretty much set up a couple of jacks. You take a string and run it down the length of the vehicle from the back tire to the front tire. And you make sure your wheel is perfectly straight. And you take measurements from the back tire. And you do the same thing with the front tire, the back of it, and the front of the front tire. And you get the measurements pretty close. And obviously on the front you want a little bit of toe in. But there's hundreds of tutorials online about that. And basically you do the same thing on the other side. Now, I've done this all my life, and I've taken it to shops after I've done this and had a factory alignment done to it, and they've always been impressed at how close I've actually gotten it. And to achieve all this, you have to adjust your tie rod ends, which are pretty easy, and like I said, lots of tutorials online. Now, even after you do all of that, your car might be in pretty good alignment, but there's one more thing that you really should check. And what we have here is a caster camber tool that I picked up online, free shipping for about $15. And to use this tool here, this will give you a really good idea just how well your front end is aligned. Now, what this is, it's basically a level with a little bubble on the inside. You have a little adjustment right here that you can turn. And you stick this on your wheel, and you can get a pretty decent representation of where your caster and camber is. But for this video, we are going to be focusing basically on the camber. Now, in order to use this tool, the whole idea is try to get your vehicle pretty much on a level spot. It doesn't have to be 100% level, and I'll show you how you can probably achieve that and get by that. And then we'll start using this tool, and we'll show you how it's actually works for a lot of people. Now, for me, I'm pretty lucky because I have some pretty big slices cut into my aluminum rims here, and I have excess into the rotor. Now, make sure if you're going to use one of these tools that your rotor is pretty smooth. Now, some brake pads are a little smaller, and you'll get this outside of the rotor right here that'll have a place that's a little higher than the rest of it where the pad actually doesn't wear down. So be aware of that. Make sure you get this tool all the way on the smooth part. And the whole idea is to stick this in here like this. Then you can make your adjustment like this, and you'll have this bubble go up and down, left and right, and you can get an idea of where the camber will be on your vehicle. And the same thing is true for the back wheel. You can just kind of stick this in here like this, check the rotor, make sure there's nothing on it, pretty smooth. And I think you can see the bubble there. You can turn this, and you can kind of set this any way you want to get a reference. Now you're saying, okay, well, what if your vehicle isn't level? Well, here's a tip I usually do. Okay, so now if you want your vehicle level, just kind of eyeball, get you a place in your yard or the parking lot where it's pretty level to the eye. As you can see here, I'm using my own yard, and I know it's pretty level right there. And next, simply get you a regular old level. Everybody has a level, right? Put it on the back of your bumper. We all have bumpers on our vehicles. If you don't have a bumper, then you might have to try your hood. We'll look at that in a minute, but you can see, since I've eyeballed this, my bumper is pretty level. And as you can see right there, that bubble is pretty much right in the center, so I'm really happy about that. But what if you don't have a back bumper? Well, let's try the front. Well, as you can see, I sort of have a front bumper. It's a little curved, but I've got it right in the center of the Chevrolet symbol. And it's resting on its own, and you can see my bubble is pretty much right in the center. We got one more option here, and that will be the hood of the vehicle. So we'll simply grab our level, get a good idea where we want it, and check out the bubble now and see where it's at. And look at that, my friend, you can't beat that. Look where that bubble is. So I know my vehicle is pretty much on a decent level spot, and now we can go ahead and check our camber and see if it's in specs or pretty daggone close. Okay, now before we do that, on to the boring stuff. This won't take long, I promise. What is camber? Or camber is basically your wheel. Is it going this way, or is it going this way, left or right? Most vehicles want a little negative camber, meaning they want the bottom of the wheel to actually come out a little bit. You don't want it so much up and down 100% at zero. You want it just a little off a little bit for the suspension. And then you have caster. Now, caster is not what we're going to be dealing with here. If you get hit on the front end, you get into a collision, the strut gets bent. Then your ball joints, this is a little exaggeration here by the way, if your ball joints are pretty much up and down, if you get hit really hard on the front, this might cause the strut to move and move the ball joint, then your whole wheel caster can get out a little bit. But that rarely is a issue with a lot of vehicles unless you're in an accident. So camber is what we're going to be focusing on right now. Now, how do I know what settings I need? Well, I went online and I already wrote them down. Now, how do I set these? Well, I need a reference. Well, I'm going to use my rear wheel as a reference because it's never been worked on, and I know it's been set from the factory and it's never been messed with. Now, the rear calls for a 1/2 degree of negative camber. Now, my camber settings for the Trailblazer, a maximum of 1 degree, a max of 0, preferred a 1/2 degree. So basically between 0 and 1 degree is where you want to set this. We are going to be setting this at a 1/2 degree. So we are going to be using my back wheels as a reference. So basically, in a nutshell, what my rear wheels are set at, a 1/2 degree of negative camber, I'm going to basically set the front because we are within specs. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's have some fun now. Now, before you do this, make sure the back of this is a big magnet. A lot of times it'll pick up rust and it'll build up over time. Make sure this is nice and smooth every time you pull this off of the rotor, if you're going to be doing the rotor. So let's go ahead and stick this in here. And by the way, if you have steel hubs, this will probably work for you. But worst case scenario, you may have to take both your wheels off on one side. But for now, let's go ahead and stick this on here and let's make an adjustment. Now, I think you can kind of see that bubble there. Let me zoom in just a little bit. And what I'm going to do, I've got a setting right here. I'm going to set this up right in the center where it's level. And I think you can see that bubble right there. And right there it is. We have that pretty much level. And now we'll go ahead and take this knob on the bottom and we can turn this. And you can see that bubble moving back and forth there. We can set this any way we want for a reference so we can use it on our front wheel. So we're going to set this about a 1/2 degree of negative camber. Negative is going to be on this side. You can see right there where it says negative. So let's go ahead and set this. Let's see, right there is 1. I think you can see the bubble. And right about there is a 1/2 degree of camber. I may have to get up here in the sunlight. And let's see, I think we got it there. Let me zoom in just a little bit more for you there. There we go. We can only do so much with the camera out here, it looks like. So there's a 1/2 degree. Let's take this off and go check the front wheel and see what it's set at. So gently just pull this off and make sure you check the back, make sure there's no rust on it. Let's go to the front wheel and see what we got. Okay, we're at the front wheel. Go ahead and set this in here like this, nice and gently. And make sure it's level here. Okay, we got our level, nice and level. Okay, so the bubble is settled down there. Let's zoom in and see what we got here. And it looks like we got about a 1/2 degree of camber, which is really nice, a negative 1/2 degree. So this is how I typically check the camber. Now, if it's a little different, you'll have to take the wheel off and make the adjustments. Every vehicle is different. They have adjustments on the top with bolts. Some have adjustments on the bottom with bolts. You really got to research your vehicle, but in a nutshell, that's how this works. Let's go do the other side just for fun. And before we take this off, see on the back, it's starting to pick up a little bit of debris there, so let's wipe that off. Let's go to the other side. All right, so we'll go ahead and set this side up here and see what we got. Put this in here like that. Make our adjustments, make our bubble nice and level. Very sensitive. These things are very accurate. And you can see right there, I got the bubble pretty level. Okay, now as you can see here, our bubble is pretty much settled down. I'm going to set this for 1/2 degree of negative camber. I think you can see the bubble there, and our bubble here is level. All right, so that looks good. Let's go to the front, and we'll use this wheel as a reference also. And like I said earlier, I know this vehicle's never been in an accident, and I know the back of it's in good shape, the bushing, so I know the factory specs are still within on the rear, and we are using it for a reference. So now let's go ahead and make sure our rotor's clean. Make sure there's no debris stuck on the back of here. Let's go ahead and stick this on there. And I'll tell you what, this is a heck of a magnet. It just, bang, it goes right on. Let's go ahead and make an adjustment here. Get this a little bit, let's see, get just about right there. Okay, so we got it level here, and it looks like our bubble has pretty much settled down. And you can see on this wheel, it has too much camber. Let me zoom in there. We have, looks like 1.5 degree camber, so the bottom of this wheel actually needs to go in a little bit. So These things are pretty accurate if you can get your vehicle on a fairly decent level piece of ground by using some of the tools I had, and you can put your car in pretty good alignment. And like I said, this is not for everybody. If you're a little squeamish about this, take it to an alignment shop. They'll only charge you $89. This thing only cost me $15. So it's whatever you want to do, but this is how I typically get my camber pretty much adjusted on all my vehicles. Okay, and just a reminder, in this video, I am using the rear wheel tires to get a reference where my front tires should be, like I said earlier in the video. Now, if you have a nice post that's in your garage and you know it's nice and level up and down, you simply just kind of stick this on the post. Of course, my door is not level. You stick it on there like that, and if your post, you know it's level, if you have a shop where they've paved the floor in order to do shop alignments and all that, this bubble will actually be right in the center if your post or whatever is level. Then what you want to do is turn this like this and make an adjustment right to 0. Then really all you have to do is just take this off and go right to your hub or your rotor or whatever, stick it on there, and it'll give you an exact reading what your camber would be, opposed to what I did. Like I said, I made adjustments according to my back wheels on this just to get a reference to the front wheels, just so we are straight about that. So I hope you like my little tutorial on this cool little tool, and there's other things you can do with it. You can hang it upside down if you want to see if something is level, your ceiling or whatever you can do. But basically, it's pretty nice to have this, especially in the Northeast where you have potholes, you hit them a lot and they throw your vehicle out of alignment. If you are a do-it-yourselfer like me, this thing is invaluable. So there you go, everyone. I hope you like this little tutorial on how to use this little tool. I know there are lots of videos online, but I wanted to do mine just out in your yard. A lot of these people that have these tutorials actually have $100,000 shops, but a lot of us don't have shops like that, and this will help you guys out. Hopefully, if you're a shade tree guy trying to get by, saving a nickel or a dime, and before you start, make sure you have some numbers written down, get an idea what your settings should be. And if you do everything that I have done, you're probably going to notice a big difference in your steering. It'll probably keep you from hydroplaning a lot less. A lot of people don't know this. If your alignment is off, you have a better chance of hydroplaning because the tires cannot displace water the right way around the tires, so you don't end up hydroplaning in a heavy rainstorm. Alright, so thanks for watching, everyone. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and remember, these are all online. You can get them on eBay for about $15. And if you play around with it and do a little research on Google, I think you'll probably come up with some pretty cool ways of using this. And like I said, if you don't have access into your hubs, if you have aluminum rims, then again, you may have to take both your wheels off to actually get this stuck onto the rotor. But sometimes those are things you just got to do if you want to have a nice aligned vehicle. So thanks for watching, guys, and until my next video, I'll see you guys later.